Hey, Dr. Crump, it's Sam. I'm going to be giving you the video response for my project for Chinua Achebe's No Longer at Ease. Um, yeah, I think in terms of literary textual things that can be found within, the piece that I'm reading, I definitely think, as opposed to world literature themes, the literary themes would obviously be the influence of colonialism in education, traditions versus progression, uh, traditions versus progression. Yeah, we can just stick with those two. But the world literature themes, I definitely think that the individual in the society is important, and what is a hero. So yeah. Um, So my themes for the individual in the society that I think is very important. The text is told from a framed story, so it starts off with whatever conflict that originally occurred within the text. How did the main character get to that point, and it just goes from there, you know, and then it ends with the beginning. So yeah, it's very interesting. So yeah, the individual in the society, I think Achibe does a great job of, framing what it was like living in Umofia, uh, the small village in western Nigeria that the story kind of centers around, but doesn't really centers around. Is Obi's backstory. So yeah, so on my, I guess you could say, my personal connection, I have two, would be on this page. It says he was in fact a village celebrity. His name was regularly invoked at the mission school where he once had been a pupil. So yeah, it just kind of conveys to the audience the type of scholar, the type of renowned figure that Obi was to his village. Like, he essentially is the chosen one that is going to bring change to his village, not only to his village, but the country of Nigeria. And they kind of, present Obi in this light, even though he doesn't view himself as that at all. So, yeah. My second personal connection would be on page 11. It says, "A man who does that is lost to his people. He is like rain wasted in a forest." I thought it was extremely important because if we pay attention to Obi's fall from grace, Obi's eventual detriment and downfall, Obi is constantly fighting between his European indoctrination, his Western influences, versus his traditional ways of life that he learned from his people. The Afrocentric views on the world and whatnot. So yeah, this to me, after reading, is just a foreshadow of the events to occur, but we just don't necessarily realize that. And I feel like, my contemporaries, black men in America, should move with this notion that Achebe presents to the to the audience. A man who does that is lost to his people. He is like rain. He is like rain water. He is like rain wasted in the forest. And I thought that was like how we should, view others that don't move in this society, dedicating their lives and dedicating their professions and occupations and their money to the upliftment of their people. Everything we should do, which should be for our people, we should get back to that sense of racial unity. So yeah, that was my personal connection. My literary connection would be on page 86. Obi's friend Joseph says, "Look at me, Obi." Joseph invariably asks people to look at him. What are you going? What are you going to do concerns not only yourself but your whole family, future generations. If one finger brings oil, it soils the others. In future, when we are all civilized, anybody may marry anybody, but that time has not come. We are We of this generation are only pioneers. And then Obi replies, what is a pioneer? That is what I'm doing now. Anyway, it's too late to change now. So I in a literal sense, after reading, Atadici's The Headstrong Historian, that just kind of reminded me of, her son. Her son became not her son, but a son of, the colonizing Europeans. He became truly identify himself with the, European Western influence and indoctrination rather than, what he was, indoctrinized as an African man, as a Nigerian man at that. So that was my literary connection. That immediately hit a bulb and made me think of what I read previously. And it kind of goes back to the personal connection of how I feel we should hold others accountable, how Joseph is trying to hold Obi accountable for beginning to lose his traditional ways of life. But how Obi is trying to become Joseph in a way, falling to the sweet temptations of the flesh, falling to the bliss. And Joseph is like, hey, you can't be like me because you're supposed to be the one that uplifts our people. You're supposed to be the one that makes me better. You can't become me. We are the pioneers of our generation. Obi, you are the person who leads this pioneering front. So yeah, there were no translations. There was no translator. The piece took place in the 1960s. If you want, you can play this as you go through my presentation because they kind of coincide. This is like my introduction to it. I guess I can go over my summary right quick. So yeah, summary: no longer at ease, centers itself in 20th century Africa following the narrow microcosm of Obi Okonwo, who is an Igbo man sent to Great Britain to learn how to navigate through a white society and give back change to his people. He battles internal polarization of African beliefs and cultures versus Western indoctrination. So yeah. So my initial thoughts, as I said, were, personally, I would give this book, 9 out of 10. I talked about the Headstrong Historian, the transition of text. I said that Achibe's ability to convey the ramifications of colonialism in the post-colonial state of Nigeria is essentially the most beautiful area of the text. His ability to use fiction as a medium to walk the reader through life in a post-colonial aspect of Nigeria gives the reader a more attainable insight to the fall of the traditional way of the Nigerian people. And I really believe that is what Achibe is really trying to convey to the audience, how through the colonization of his people, we have changed into something